Joining us now from Lauderhill, Florida is Chaim Rosenstein. Chaim is a liaison between the Jewish community and the local authorities. Shalom.
Shalom, shalom.
So what can you tell us about the anti-Semitic incident which occurred on Shabbat?
So I was on my way home from the Bet Knesset, from the shul, when the incident was unfolding. So some of the details I witnessed firsthand, and some of it I obviously heard, shortly after the attack took place. I was leaving the shul at about 1:45 p.m. and the incident began around 1:30. So just to give you a little bit of a geographical idea of what goes on, there's two shuls that are right near each other, and the victim was coming out of the other shul, not the one that I was at, and he was attacked. The attack only ended because a Good Samaritan, as we call it here in the U.S., passerby was driving by and started screaming at the attacker, and so he fled actually towards the shul that I was in, and that's kind of where I started to see firsthand what was going on.
At what point did you understand that the motive was anti-Semitic?
So at first I wasn't sure, but obviously within minutes we realized that it was an anti-Semitic attack simply based on the words that were, exchanged between the attacker and the victim.
What was said?
It seems like he referred to him as with a vulgar term, using the F word and saying, you effing Jew, I'm sick and tired of you guys, something along those lines.
And Chaim, what can you tell us about your feelings as this was happening?
So my feelings then were obviously of deep concern and fear, because this has generally been a very, very safe neighborhood. And even interestingly enough, even though the city of Lauderhill, if anyone were to Google it, would see that it's not technically the safest city in Florida per se. But this area of Lauderhill, the Jewish area of Lauderhill, is statistically extremely safe, very low crime. And so this definitely felt, it induced fear to myself and to my fellow community members.
Now, in wake of events, how much were you preparing for such incidents?
So it definitely, we have heightened awareness. I would say that already several months ago, even several months before the attack in Israel on October 7th, I was in coordination. Me and some of the other community leaders and liaisons were in communication with local PD, the local fire department, other members of local law enforcement, to coordinate that they should be aware of the times that people are walking around the neighborhood, since here in Florida many people have concealed carried weapons, but they're not carrying phones on Shabbat. And therefore, on a weekly basis, I was in touch with members of the police department with regards to the typical times that we're walking around, so that they can be in the area, and if something were to happen, they should be aware right away. That actually, from what I understand, actually expedited the response of the police to the incident that happened on Shabbat, because after October 7th, we had a meeting with the members of our city council as well as law enforcement, and they stepped up their game as far as making sure that unless the police on shift were responding to an emergency, they were in the vicinity of the two synagogues. And actually, like I said, one of the responding officers was maybe a block or two away at the time of the attack and was able to respond very quickly.
Chaim, we're a few days after the incident. How are you looking back at what happened and thinking how to prevent such incidents?
So we're trying to process it. I mean, I fielded a message, a few minutes before you reached out to me, from a concerned community member saying, do we need to launch Shmira on Shabbos and Yom Tif, of people that were literally, instead of going to the shul, we stationed on street corners. So there's definitely a lot of concern. Last night I was on a 45-minute phone call with one of our city commissioners, and trying to address these issues. I was in touch with several of the other members of our city commission and police department. And actually, on Wednesday evening, there will be a meeting with the police and fire department and members of the community, such as myself, who will be there to address these concerns and try to figure out where do we go from here. We're seeing what's going on in our homeland in Israel, since October 7th and on October 7th and since then. And we're witnessing acts such as these spreading, unfortunately, throughout the United States. I mean, an incident that didn't make the news, for example, not to just to digress for a moment. My sister told me yesterday that her daughter, my niece, was on the New York City subway just yesterday and was approached by New York City, members of the New York City Police Department who told her to possibly tuck in her Israel necklace so that it shouldn't be so visible because it could make her be a victim of an attack. This is not Germany in the 1930s. This is the United States. We're talking about New York, or in this case, Florida, in 2024. It's not acceptable. It's not okay. It must not be tolerated, and we have to address it with everything we got.
Chaim Rosenstein, Lauderhill, Florida, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.